More Than Enough, The Tale of the Rainbow Serpent. A story about worthiness, awakening, and finally remembering who the hell you are. A big part of untaming my Wildheart has revolved around my beliefs about worthiness and enoughness. For years, I clung tightly to unforgiving narratives, not enough, not deserving of good things, good love, good anything. These stories were carved so deeply into my subconscious that I spent most of my adult life shortchanging myself without even realizing it. And the worst part, I replayed this lesson on a relentless loop again and again until the cows came home. Because apparently this one needed several reruns before it would sink in. After battling the not enough monster for years, it turns out I needed help getting this lesson across the finish line. And in true Cristina fashion, the universe delivered that help in the form of a highly attractive youngster, 10 years my junior almost to the day, armed with excessive confidence, competitive fire, and an arrogance so bold it could have earned its own postcode. So when this hottie waved at me out of the blue, I was genuinely surprised. It had been ages since we'd shared the same working circle. I'd moved on from that job, and because of the age gap, we were never on the same page, let alone reading from the same book. So there was little point to us keeping in touch. Our pathways barely crossed, aside from the occasional old work group catch-up. So discovering that I'd made it into his headspace at all as a romantic thought was surprising, amusing, and if I'm honest, slightly ego-boosting. Admittedly, I did enjoy his company. He made me laugh with his juvenile, cheeky way of seeing the world, and I liked his young energy because I too am eternally young at heart. Back in the day, I'd found him cute. Evolved into a short-lived but fierce crush. Nothing serious, but still impactful. The kind that happens when you're forced to spend 75% of your life with people your paycheck chooses for you. I remember one afternoon he wandered over to my desk and tapped me on the shoulder. I turned and looked up at him as he started talking about a project we were working on. Somewhere around the 1 minute mark, I heard, "So, what do you think?" But I'd been overcome by his smouldering ocean eyes, suspended in them, caught, undone, drifting somewhere far from spreadsheets and professionalism. I giggled. His wide grin told me he noticed instantly as he walked back to his desk with swagger, fully aware of the effect he'd just had. That lustful smirk snapped me straight back to the reality staring me in the face, midway through typing yet another boring email. Fingers frozen on the keyboard, lust evaporating into fluorescent lighting and Outlook fonts. And in that exact moment, I spoke to God, clear and direct. God, please, 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 if you hear me, grant me this one wish. Let me experience this man at some point this lifetime. I gave no time frame, only my request loaded with desire. But the divine doesn't care much for when. It only hears intention. Be careful what you wish for, because my oh my was my wish granted. What truly drew me to him, even above the Calvin Klein model looks, was this. I knew him before the armor, before the arrogance, before the bravado he wore to keep intimacy at bay. I saw the real him, the one who values family and community above everything, who wears his pride in ink across his skin, the generous, loving, fiercely loyal man beneath the front. He had a heart that loved deeply, sometimes too deeply. He'd told me about stories of exes who drained him dry, women he bent over backwards for, giving endless chances to people who didn't deserve them. And yet, when pushed too far, that baby face beauty could cut clean and permanent. But underneath all of that was that heart of gold, arguably more dangerous than those soul-piercing eyes that could set your panties on fire. So when he came knocking, he was the last person I expected to hear from. And the aftermath left me grazed knees, rattled, and forced to stand up, dust myself off, and face wounds I'd been expertly avoiding until he turned up uninvited like an emotional courier package. Despite the age gap, we were more alike than I realized, both guarding our hearts behind superficial encounters, both avoiding vulnerability, both using distraction as armor and each other as a mirror. Life, as always, reflected back exactly what I refused to look at. Even while I lived this, I knew we weren't compatible, not in real life and not even in sexy life, no matter how into him I thought I was. The physical attraction was undeniable, but by then I was already on my healing path and my higher self had begun rejecting people and situations unwilling to meet me beyond the shallows. Truth be told, I should have known better, but I didn't. And attraction got the better of me momentarily. This guy didn't just spark up my base chakra. He bloody well detonated the TNT and blew me straight to La La Land. And while our encounter was fun, it was also performative. To him, I was a MILF. And as for me, I was still searching for deeper connection, deeper meaning, somewhere that felt like home. Still, that night, our bodies moved together like a slow dance, gliding, meeting every inch of ourselves for the first time, intimate and magnetic. The connection humming between us was impossible to ignore. He felt it too. What I later realized was that this intimacy wasn't a promise, it was an appetizer, enough to tease, enough to taste, but never enough to satisfy. The entree arrived, the main course never would. Days passed and I remained caught in the youngster's hypnotic trance. A few meaningless text messages trickled in, suggestive of plans for more wild adventures, even hinting that we might invite one of my friends. I remembered him asking about that one blonde friend that he fancied, and her and I were close, but we weren't exactly the kind of close that he seemed to be hoping for. Then, without warning, the youngster pulled the plug. Cue, full-scale Latina meltdown, 0 to 10 cray-cray in 5 seconds flat. I didn't want the fun to be over. I was enjoying my distraction. My ego took the hit and fired back with an epically dramatic text he absolutely did not deserve. But the reaction wasn't about him. It was about me. Old wounds, old fears, old triggers dressed up in a new sexy beard. I threw him into the metaphorical laundry pile, the same one where all my emotional issues had been waiting to be folded and put away. But when that pile toppled, a few inconvenient truths spilled out. I was seeking validation outside myself again. Shit, I really thought I'd ticked that box already. I felt not enough. The moment I expressed what I wanted, the second I got clear, he got scared. His retreat translated in my nervous system as proof that I was unworthy of receiving my desires. Ah, yes, the universe reminding me that we attract the exact experiences required to drag us back to the place we need to sit, marinate, and heal. Amazing. Healing is sneaky like that. It will even use a pretty face and a spicy age gap to haul you right back into the lesson you've been avoiding. I was forced to sit in the discomfort, to feel, to examine my inner landscape. The wound clearing was uncomfortable as hell, but when has healing ever felt like a day spa? My ego would love me to say I wasn't affected, but the truth, it was like he dangled a ripe red cherry in front of my face. Eyes closed, I took a bite. I liked it, surprising even myself. I opened my eyes only to find that he'd set fire to the entire cherry plantation, burning all remaining trees to the ground, leaving me standing there head to toe covered in dust and ash. I'm not ashamed to admit the bearded beauty briefly unraveled me, because all that unraveling made me pause and reflect. Why do I care? Why am I reacting like this? Why do I suddenly have no chill? Simple. It was never about him, and it was always about me. His attention and then his withdrawal cracked open the worthiness pile I'd shoved to the back of the cupboard. He activated beliefs I was still quietly carrying. This interaction was necessary. It forced me to stare not enoughness in the face, drop it off in town, kiss it goodnight, and wave goodbye. So I went inward, I meditated, I felt, I processed, I healed. Emotionally, this one was a biggie. No hearts were broken, no tears were shed, but damn, it stung like the sharp bite of an angry rainbow serpent. The Wildheart got his fun, and I got pushed into more healing. Kudos, kid. Thank you for dumping me straight back into my wounded heart. Impressive work. I never saw it coming. And it was exactly what I needed. You did me a solid. I bow in gratitude to your then 24-year-old self, both surprised and grateful. Thanks for showing up when I needed a tribute. I am and always have been more than enough.